Good morning. Mercy stole some of my storyline, but that's okay, because I want to talk about heroes or brave people. So can you tell me if there's a brave person or a hero in your life?
My nan is a brave person. Her is right up there.
Why is she brave?
Because I was scared in the night, and I thought there was a scared next to me sleeping. So I called for Nana. Then Nana sleep with me.
I think all nans are good, aren't they? They're very special people. Do you have a favourite? It could be a person that you know or someone in the Bible.
I think it'll be my sister.
And why?
Because on the Ferris wheel she wasn't scared. Yeah.
So you're really brave. I don't think I could be that brave on a Ferris wheel. What about you?
I'd say my sister.
And
Good question.
good question. Have you got someone that's a hero or someone that's really brave? No? What about you? Anyone who's really brave? Mummy and Daddy? Because they look after you. Well, there are two people in the Bible that always stand out for me. One is Job, because the story of Job, he lost everything. His farm, his animals, his children. But God would not allow the devil, Satan, to take his life. And I always wonder, sometimes I get angry with God. And that's okay, because Job did. Job questioned God. Why is this happening? But did he ever blame God? No. And it's so easy to say, that's because my big brother or my sister made me do it. A bit like Adam and Eve in the garden, where Adam said, the woman you gave me, God, made me eat the apple. And so I always admired Job, that he went through so much, but he still believed in God. Another one is a lady. She was very beautiful. Her name was Esther. She was a simple girl who became a queen. And you know the story, how she went in to the king knowing that if he didn't hold up that sceptre, she would die. And I think that is a very brave and courageous woman. Now, there's a man that I want to talk about too this morning, and this is his picture. That's my dad. When he was in the army, no, hang on, I'll get the book so I don't muddle up the story. He turned 19 on the 22nd of January, 1942. And on the 23rd of January, at 19 years and 1 day, he joined the army. So he was going to be involved in the Second World War. Now, one story he told me, which I thought was funny, was when they got their new big leather boots to wear, and do you know what happens when you get new school shoes? What happens? Blisters. So do you know what the men did? They tied the shoelaces to a stick and threw them in the creek, the river, or in water. They went to sleep, and the next morning they put their boots on wet, and they walked and walked and walked. They never got blisters. I think that's funny. Anyway, by the time my dad went to New Guinea, he had gone all the way from way down in Victoria to way up in Queensland. And I've lost that thing. Have I got it? Sorry, I do have a couple of photos. So one day they had to march 30 miles, thank you, which is about 60 kilometres. So could you imagine walking from here all the way into Gosford? Now, you younger kids won't understand that, but you older kids might. So there's my father's platoon. I don't know which one he is. And then there they are, they're all marching. And they had to march along the roads. So when he got to New Guinea, he was up around the area of Lae, which is sort of the top of New Guinea. See where that red dot is? So there's the top of Australia, and then we've got the red dot is in Papua New Guinea, and that's around the Lae area. He was in the Salamara Lae campaign, and he belonged to the 24th Battalion, the Red and White Diamond. Now, they had a problem one day. They had lookouts. And observation points, they called them, and they had to go right up somewhere really high and keep watch to make sure there was no enemies coming. They usually went in twos, but this time the man that was meant to go up with my father was sick, so he had to go up there all by himself, and he stayed up there. Guess how long he was up there? Not 1 week, not 2, not 3, 4 weeks, all by himself up there. And he had to report back by a special phone that they used back then to let his leaders know where the enemies were. And there was a lot of fighting. And he thought, well, I'm never going to survive this. I'm going to die here. And the fighting got really bad. And then one day, he said to me, he heard the planes coming and he thought, oh no, this is it. And then all of a sudden, guess what jumped out of the planes? The men and their parachutes. They let their parachutes go and they went down slowly to the ground.
It's called sky jump.
That's right. And that's what won that section of the war. And my dad was over there for 18 months, and it was a long time. He hates rice because they used to get a lot of rice. And when he came back to Victoria, he had to go by boat back to Australia, and then he came back to Melbourne by the train, and that was his certificate of discharge. Now, if he didn't make it through the war, I wouldn't be here. And that is a picture of my dad when he was about 82 years old. He's no longer here because he would be 103, and not many people make it to 103. And our poppies, I love poppies. The red ones, do you know what they represent? No. All the men and women that passed away or were killed in the war. And in the fields in Europe, after all the fighting, the first flowers that popped up were the poppies. And so they're a symbol of hope and rejuvenation, meaning growth. And I haven't got, but the white poppies, I've forgotten now, I think of the nurses, and I haven't got a purple one, but the purple poppies represent all the animals that died. And I have another hero. Do you know what his name is? Jesus. Because Jesus was very, very brave, wasn't he? He came, he gave up heaven, He came down to live amongst us, and he died for you and me. And without his sacrifice, there wouldn't be any hope. What's your question, Hayley?
God was alone in the forest. It was dark. He prayed to God.
That's right. And I think that my dad, when he was on that observation point, I think he prayed lots to God. And I think God protected him because he knew that my dad needed to come home. So whenever we're scared, all we have to do is pray to God or Jesus and ask him to protect us, because he will, and he always is faithful. And Jesus was so brave. That's why he's one of my he's my main hero. So when you go back to your seats, maybe today when you go home, have a look, you older girls, have a look at what the poppies mean, because I just love the poppies because of the what they mean to me. Thank you for listening.